What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today is episode 2 in a series I'm calling Commentator Callout. And today, if you notice the beanie, might give you an idea who we're talking about.
After the banning of books, the banning of movies, the banning of art, this brings me to my favorite thing about the left going insane. But then when we see that they're pandering or catering to the far left, can we trust that position? Very possibly civil war. Absolutely insane. The left has become psychotic and it truly terrifies me. But I'm not just making this up. That's the end.
That's right. Today we have to call out Tim Pool for his lazy, pandering, inaccurate, and just downright awful content. Because like it or not, Tim Pool has a very, very big reach. And he's the current captain of the alt-right pipeline. So let's break it down. Today on... So, if you're not familiar with Tim Pool, he's a YouTuber and a former journalist who worked for Vice with over 2 million subscribers on all his channels and over 500,000 followers on Twitter. And Tim claims to be... Hold on. Much better. Now, Tim claims to be a lefty, but he spends every single one of his 5 to 10 segments daily either criticizing the left or praising Trump. And now, trust me, I'm all for criticizing the left, especially the establishment. But what Tim likes to do is he plays that disaffected lefty that just says, oh, the left's gone insane, that conservatives just eat up. The worst part is Tim's dishonest approach. If you watch enough Tim Pool, you will think all liberals want to burn down libraries and force you to have an abortion. So I want to take a look at Tim's content and call him out for his hyperbolic reporting style, as well as fact check him on a few things. But hey, before you do that, if you like the content, make sure you ever so slightly touch that like button and maybe subscribe. And if you do subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, that way you get notified, because I've noticed like none of my subscribers are watching my videos when I upload. So yeah, if you want to see my videos, make sure you hit the notification bell. Alright, let's jump into it. Tim constantly rails against cancel culture and claims to be all about free speech. He makes videos all day claiming the left wants to ban books and infringe on your free speech rights. So you would think, being the middle of the road lefty that he is, anytime the right would do this, he would call him out. But yet when the right infringes on your free speech rights or cancels somebody, he's crickets, nowhere to be seen. I guess the left destroying America just makes a better thumbnail. Now, there's a lot of examples of this, like when conservatives wanted the movie The Hunt banned from theaters and actually did get it banned for a time. Tim not only didn't speak out about it, but he actually joined in the outrage.
This may be the stupidest move by a company I've ever seen. And they want to make a movie where liberal elites kidnap deplorables. That's what they actually say in the beginning. Slaughtering a dozen deplorables. Wow! Did anyone see what our rat effer-in-chief just did? One character asks early in the screenplay for the hunt. At least the hunt's coming up. Nothing better than going out to the manor and slaughtering a dozen deplorables. That's a line in a movie they thought was appropriate to come out right now, especially with everything happened. Pull the movie. Seriously.
But when some in the media and on the left had concerns of violence when the Joker came out, Tim was quick to mock them and call it lefty censorship.
Saying it was an incel movie, it was dangerous, it was going to inspire mass violence, all of these things. Absurd. You know what I think happened? Joker's an incel, it's got incel, it could be seen by incels. Oh, it's a movie for incels. He's a hero to the white underclass that created Trump. And then finally, they are going to inspire violence. That's where they ended. They chased themselves off a cliff.
Another recent example is when Ugandan feminist Stella Nyanze was sentenced to 18 months in prison for writing a very sexual poem. At the sentencing, she screamed, "F you, F you, F you," and did, well, this. Which is obviously awesome, a true act of standing up for free speech. She literally said F you to the man. So what did free speech advocate Tim Pool have to say about it, who definitely has a problem with strong women, as we'll see throughout this video? She took off her top and jiggled her breast and said, F you, F you, F you. Why would anyone praise that? How can a system of justice function if that's what you need to do to fight for civil rights? So let that be a lesson to you kids. If you're going to fight for basic human rights against a tyrannical government, always be polite, even after they send you to prison. because being radical never got nobody nowhere. A good recent example of Tim's double standard is, well, there's also Republicans in a North Carolina city banned all protests. Yes, all of them. You know, that thing protected under the First Amendment of the Constitution? And Tim, despite making about 10 segments a day, most of them being on the protests lately, and again with him being a free speech absolutist and all, you would think he might have something to say, but, of course, when it comes to the Republicans doing it, nothing to say. Kinda odd for a fair and balanced lefty. Okay, I got sidetracked there for a second. What I was going to say is that a good recent example of Tim's double standard hypocrisy is the story of Clara Janover. Clara was just another girl on TikTok who gained a bit of a following after a couple of her videos talking about Black Lives Matter went viral. Then she made one where she made an analogy to All Lives Matter, which got picked up by conservative TikTok, and eventually it cost her 6-figure job at Deloitte because they mass reported her and then spammed and harassed her job until they fired her. Now, the analogy Clara made was, next time somebody tells me all lives matter, I'm going to stab you, and while you're crying on the ground for help, I'm going to show you my paper cut and say, hey, all cuts matter. Personally, I think this is one of the most unproblematic things I've ever seen somebody get canceled for. I don't see how anybody could have an issue with this. It's a social media post, not directed at anybody, making an analogy. And while I'm not a big fan of cancel culture in general, I think this here is the worst form of it. You have a random everyday person that loses their job because a mob of people harassed her work. And not only that, you have a bunch of high-profile conservatives dogpiling on top of her and making it even worse. Stuff like Kevin Hart losing his Oscars job because he didn't apologize, I could give a shit about. Like, he'll live, he'll be fine. But random everyday people losing dream jobs because of an analogy is just gross. But let's see what Tim has to say about it.
I'm sure many of you have already seen the video of this young far leftist woman. Because of this shocking video, she has lost her job. She is now blaming Trump supporters because of this. I'm sorry. Trump supporters oppose cancel culture.
Really, Tim? Really? Is that how we're doing this? Far leftists? Really? Fuck, man. Jeez. Before we go through the rest of Tim's commentary and see just how bad it is, I want to give you the actual details of the story. You know, like maybe Tim should have done, but let's get into that first. First, let's clear up Tim saying she's some kind of far leftist. Most of Clara's content is not even political. She, like basically the rest of the country, started posting some stuff about the protest and Black Lives Matter once all that ramped up. Before that, this was her content.
So we all know that there are so many songs about heartbreak and relationships ending and losing the love of your life or whatever.
College, bro, so I grinded to get here. Hey, I grinded too, okay? Well, I'm rich, so like... What? I'm rich too, bro. No, I'm rich. As fuck.
Never mind, I take it back. She's clearly an Antifa super soldier. So after Clara's BLM videos went viral, several prominent conservatives tweeted about it, including Ann Coulter, Mike Cernovich, Ali Stuckey, Mark Dice, and Charlie Kirk, who added Harvard and basically asked them to cancel her. Then he told his 1.7 million followers to retweet so they can't ignore. Her name started trending on Twitter. She immediately started receiving thousands of hate messages. Then she was fired. Only after that did the story gain more mainstream media attention. If Tim would have done any research on this story, he would have known this. But instead, this is the journalistic take we get from Tim Pool.
Oh no. You mean to tell me Trump supporters actually made some phone calls and got you fired? I'm not even convinced it was Trump supporters. You know why? This story was all over the place. This story wasn't just being spread around by Trump supporters. It was on mainstream news websites talking about the extremist woman saying she was going to stab somebody. It was spicy, hot content. And news outlets could not resist. Ooh, she's threatening to stab people. Oh no, here comes the extremist, and it came for you. So there's her. I don't even believe she's actually crying, to be honest. Like, her whole shtick has been shock content. She's probably loving the attention she's getting. She's probably loving being an E-personality. The job I worked really hard for and meant, blah, 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 got fired. At the grand scale, when you step back, you kind of got to let these people lay in their own beds. Am I going to intervene because she decided this is the world she wanted? you get what you ask for. You know, why would I come to your defense now?
So not only was it Trump supporters, but it was very influential Trump supporters organizing a mob against this woman to make her life a living hell because she made a dumb analogy in a TikTok video. So if Trump supporters oppose cancel culture so much, I think somebody needs to tell Trump supporters that. Now look, I will give Tim a little bit of credit. He did say she shouldn't be fired, right before he immediately went back to bashing her.
Bigger philosophical question. As someone who is a purveyor, as somebody who emboldens cancel culture, should she not reap what she has sown? And that's the bigger question. So while my personal opinion is cancel culture, and I don't think she should lose her job.
You know what, though? Tim does bring up a good point. Should we come to the defense of people who constantly call for people to get canceled after they get canceled? I mean, it's a point he brings up several times in this segment.
In the online world that you have helped create, I do believe there's a bit of a cathartic release in watching her get fired, the comeuppance of those who would create this culture. You don't get to slam edgy humor and act offended and then get mad when people come after you. If you advocate for cancel culture, if you advocate for people being fired from their jobs and kicked out of their homes or abandoned by their families, then when you get fired, it's what you asked for. Shouldn't you be happy? You're being held accountable exactly as you demanded. And defend Black Lives Matter. You can't take away my spirit and my devotion for human rights, she said. In a second video, she sobbed, Trump supporters took my job away from me. And while she was crying, she was saying things like, I am too strong. No, okay? You are a child. You joined the mob and threw the bricks. And when the bricks came flying back, you went, help, help, I'm being repressed.
So, did Clara ever use her small platform to try and cancel people? Did she ever make one video about how we need to cancel this person or that person, or ever send her followers to try and harass somebody or at them and try to get them canceled? Anything like that? Take a guess. What do you think? One guess. What is it? Well, I'm not a journalist, but I went through Clara's content, and not a single video talks about canceling anyone. Not one. Not any videos. But Tim, who has zero journalistic integrity, knows that's not what his viewers want to hear. They need their daily dose of red meat. So Tim, of course, is not going to let facts get in the way of a good story. I'll wrap this up with a clip from Tim's podcast where he compares Clara's story to Stefan Molyneux, a full-blown white supremacist who makes videos about how black people are just thugs and that's why they commit crime. Oh, and they have small brains, of course. And then Tim goes on to defend Molyneux, but he tries to give himself an out by saying, oh, well, I don't know anything about him. I don't know anything about his content.
She's just making more videos, and the more, now she's going to make another video about this, about everybody else. Mm-hmm. So there's kind of a controversy going around because at the same time, I say kind of a controversy, but I'm seeing some people talk about this. Stefan Molyneux got banned from YouTube.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know the exact reason because I don't follow him. I don't really know what his whole thing is, but he's accused of being far right and holding like supremacist views or something. I'm not super familiar with Stefan Molyneux's work. The left accuses him of a whole bunch of the worst of the worst. The only problem is they accuse everybody of it.
That's a good point.
So the only assumption I can make is he probably wasn't what they're accusing him of.
They've been crying wolf, man.
So, if you believe Tim, a journalist on YouTube, doesn't know anything about one of the more controversial figures on YouTube that's in the same space as Tim, then please let me tell you about my friend the Nigerian prince who just needs your bank account information to keep his money safe till he gets to the States. This is exactly why you shouldn't get your news from Tim. All he does is he finds a snappy headline article, reads like one or two parts of it, and then just infers a bunch of random accusations depending on the story. Oh, she's a far leftist, that one she is. Oh, well, you shouldn't have cried. You'd canceled all those other people. Now they came for you. Which brings up another thing I want to talk about. Now, we could go over some of Tim's past bad takes, like the fact that he pushed the Seth Rich conspiracy, or the fact that he calls InfoWars a good news source.
So I'm personally inclined to believe that there is at least a greater than probability chance, and again, my opinion, that Seth Rich was in fact the leaker. Now with Kim.com's statement, I'm sitting around a 57 to 65% chance that that Seth Rich was the leaker. InfoWars has done a good job over the past several years of moving more into the mainstream, the more acceptable and...
I will eat my neighbors. I'm just going to be honest. I'm literally looking at my neighbors now and going,
I'm ready to hang them up and gut them and skin them and chop them up. You know what? I'm ready. I'll eat my neighbors.
They've gotten away from a lot of the crazier conspiracy stuff, but so yeah, a lot of the stuff they put out now isn't fake news.
Yeah, Tim. Really hot journalistic take you got there. Another garbage news source that Tim loves to use is Project Veritas, which is a group run by James O'Keefe and funded by Republican megadonors who has been sued and lost for deceptively editing their videos. Tim did several videos on a couple of Bernie staffers that Project Veritas caught on camera saying some dumb stuff at a bar. And if you got the story from Tim, you would have thought Bernie himself said it. He was also very concerned that a couple of the Bernie staffers had locked their Twitter accounts.
Bernie Sanders is surrounded by anti-Semites and extremists because, dare I say it, he seems to be supporting it. But no matter what he does, Veritas has him. I try to keep this family friendly, but they got him. They got him in a grip, if you know what I mean. Rock in a hard place. His staffers locked down their accounts, not a peep. Brooke Adams has locked her Twitter account, as have other Bernie Sanders Iowa staffers.
Okay, so Tim thinks it's a very big deal that a couple of college kids that work for Bernie went out to the bar, had a few beers, and said some dumb things. Oh, and don't forget they locked their Twitter accounts. That's very important. But that's a very big deal. Such a big deal that he made 5 different videos talking about it, and mentioned it several other times in other videos. Well shit, seeing as Tim is a middle-of-the-road centrist, how many videos do you think he made when Stephen Miller, who works in the White House currently, was found to have several hundred emails going back to 2015 talking about Camp of the Saints, which is a book loved by the alt-right, talking about immigration conspiracy theories. Oh, and Hitler immigration policies, by the way. How many do you think he made? What? What's that? Not one? Not one? Not any? Not one. He works in the White House, though. He wrote the speech for the 4th of July. Not one? Oh, shit. Now, watching this next clip, as he makes a decent point about immigration, even though he throws a bunch of hyperbolic nonsense in there, but he makes a decent point. But then watch when Bernie Sanders makes basically the exact same point.
But as undocumented workers who are not being kicked out, these mega corporations can hire them below minimum wage and never have to get rid of them, never have to pay benefits, not have to abide by any laws. Okay, that's a little over the top. They do have to abide by many laws. Obviously, if they do really messed up stuff, people will come in. But if they can't be deported, then what's the punishment? A fine if they find out they're paying below minimum wage, but they're not citizens, they're not legally working either. That's a horrifying prospect. Sanders, who is a top contender for the Democratic presidential nomination, pushed back on the idea that he's changed. He said, what I believe absolutely is, I don't believe in open borders. Open borders means anybody can come from any place in the world. There's no country in the history of the world, I think, that has ever had that view. That is not my view, but my view is that we have 11 million undocumented here. Many of those workers, by the way, are being exploited right now. Trump wants to throw everyone out of the country. If he threw people out of the country, the price of food in this country would skyrocket. Who do you think is picking the crops and planting all over this country? And now Bernie has gone full racist. I'm sorry.
Yes, you heard that right. After Tim makes a point about how illegal immigration is being exploited in this country, he then reads the article and sees that Bernie Sanders is making a point about how illegal immigration is being exploited in this country and says he has gone full-on racist. Yeah. The funniest thing is right after that, he kind of realizes that he contradicted himself, so he tries to spin it and give some bullshit reason as to why he's actually still correct, because he knows a couple white guys that pick crops.
Now, I want to clarify, I'm specifically talking about crops and planting crops. The point I made earlier, I stand by, that many of these processing plants and factories that were hiring undocumented workers were paying terrible wages in dangerous conditions. But when it comes to farming, a lot of these people are regular Americans who do the farming. I know a lot of people who are around my age, who are white, who pick crops. They actually don't pay low wages like they're trying to claim.
First off, Tim, you're the one that said they were being paid low wages, not Bernie. You clearly read that he said they were being exploited.
They can have some kind of surf class working for below minimum wage behind closed doors that no one knows about. That is not my view, but my view is that we have 11 million undocumented here. Many of those workers, by the way, are being exploited right now.
Which could mean not having access to health care, working too long of hours. Also, according to Pew Research, over 50% of farm workers are illegal immigrants. That's way more than in any other field. So, congratulations. You couldn't have been more wrong on this one if you wanted to be. You're also wrong about the wages, but hey, we'll save that for another day. So it's not just Bernie that Tim the lefty has an issue with. He also has major issues with Joe Biden and his platform. And while there's plenty to pick from that's wrong with Joe, one thing you can't say is that he wants to defund the police. Guess what Tim went after him for?
Let me just tell you, Trump was right. Joe Biden does, based on the common understanding of what defund means, Joe Biden does want to defund the police by his own admission, his own words. Yes, absolutely. We'll get to that.
Yeah, that's going to be a no, Tim. He's talking about Trump's disastrous interview with Chris Wallace the other day, in which he said that Biden wants to defund the police, and when Chris Wallace fact-checked him, all of Trump's staffers couldn't find anything that said that Biden wants to defund the police because, Biden doesn't want to defund the police. But Tim Pool, he has the answers. Now watch this semantic bullshit Tim pulls out, along with just totally disregarding some facts that we already know. Just watch how he gets there.
And I have for you the interview where he literally says yes. Let me see if let's play it. Hopefully the sound works.
Surplus military equipment for law enforcement. They don't need that. The last thing you need is an up-armored Humvee coming into a neighborhood. It's like the military invading. They don't know anybody. They become the enemy. They're supposed to be protecting these people. So my generic point is
but
that...
do we agree that we can redirect some of the funding?
Yes, absolutely. One of the things that...
Okay.
Boom.
From now this, yes, absolutely. The interviewer asked the former vice president, but do we agree that we can redirect some of the police funding? Yes, absolutely. Now I know, right away. Chris Wallace is probably saying, well, redirecting funds does not mean defund or abolish. And I'm sure all of the lefties are going to be like, no, you see, Biden, someone tweeted this to me, Biden was talking about moving funding from like one department to another. No, he literally said redirect police funding. Okay, you want to make an assumption about what it means? Feel free to do so. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to show you what they literally mean. According to the Brookings Institute, defund the police means reallocating or redirecting funding away from the police department to other government agencies funded by the local municipality. That's it. Boom.
It's that simple.
It's that simple. So now you have all these people running around. You see stories like this. AP, Joe Biden did not call for defunding the police. Hold on a minute. If the definition that they gave, okay, in numerous instances, because look, I'm choosing these select sources, right?
Right.
There's 50 billion sources that say defund means literally defund. So I'll tell you what, if Joe Biden doesn't know what he's talking about, you do not have the right to claim you can read his mind and knew what he really meant.
Tim, you wanna be sly son of a bitch, you. First off, I don't have to read Biden's mind. That's what you're trying to do. I'm gonna go off the actual policy he laid out, where he said he was gonna allocate $300 million extra dollars to funding the police. That's a 30% increase. Not only does Biden not want to defund the police, but he literally has a policy on his website to give $300 million more dollars to the police. That's what he wants to do. The exact opposite of defund the police. That's why so many people on the left were mad at him. Or maybe we could go by the op-ed he wrote a couple weeks ago where he said, I don't support defunding the police. I support reform. Plain and simple. Straight out. That's what he said. We don't have to read any minds. We don't have to infer anything. We don't have to look up a definition on the Brookings fucking Institute. We just go by the actual policy the guy has laid out. Like Tim, this is so much of a stretch you can't even get Fox News to agree with you. To be fair to Chris Wallace, he is the best that Fox News has to offer. So anyway, I'm going to be doing a part 2 to this video because there's just so much more I need to get to and talk about. And nobody needs to watch this much Tim Pool in one sitting. But if you're a fan of Tim Pool's content and you're a conservative, you're on the right, just please check out other content creators. Tim Pool is just only going to feed you Trump talking points. That's it. That's all he does. So just bottom line, maybe don't get all your news from a guy that has posted 20 times in this last year that there's going to be a civil war in his thumbnail. Just maybe don't do that. But hey, that's just my take on it, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Look out for part 2, and let me know what kind of content you want to see more of, because I'm trying to find my niche here on YouTube. Let me know what kind of stuff you guys want to see more of. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram @DrivenProgressive. I also have a TikTok because I'm cool like that. So yeah, check me out on any of the other platforms. If you like the content, like, share, subscribe, YouTube stuff. Look out for part 2. Hope you enjoyed the video. Peace.